Having your life predetermined at a young, impressionable age can be imprisoning. Imagine being steered towards a singular goal, an ambition so great it feels unattainable. These aspirations are etched into your mind during your formative years. But what happens when the weight of these expectations becomes suffocating, permeating every facet of your existence? Unfortunately, within the Death Note universe, we get to witness what happens when such thing occurs, due to the haunting reality of Whammy's house. An institution shrouded in the shadows of the Death Note series, it is seldom explored in its main narrative. Here in this orphanage, gifted children are raised with a singular purpose, to become the next L. But what becomes of those who falter under the weight of these imposed destinies? How do they navigate a world they've been sheltered from, their upbringing geared towards a singular objective? And for those who manage to meet the colossal expectations, what awaits them beyond the confines of Whammy's house? How do they contend with the ceaseless scrutiny and relentless burden of comparison, having their every move dictated by predefined goals? Well, unfortunately, there exists an untold tale, one that belongs to two children known as A and B. A narrative that delves into the repercussions of life devoid of choice, where the echoes of expectations reverberate through every moment of existence. Today, we will be talking about Death Note, Another Note, which is the story of the Beyond Birthday murder case briefly mentioned in the main series. In the novel, we are introduced to A and B, two children embroiled in a tragic forgotten tale at Whammy's house. Renowned as the top students of this institution, A brilliant child, was hailed as the successor to L, with B falling closely behind. However, beneath the veneer of excellence lies a profound question. What went wrong? Enter Whammy's house, a sanctuary for nurturing gifted children and training them to inherit the mantle of the legendary detective, L. Yet, beneath its facade lurks a sinister underbelly, tainted by trauma, manipulation, and abuse. The atmosphere within Whammy's house is rife with cutthroat competition among its residents. Raised with the expectation of ascending to the stature of L, each child finds themselves locked in a relentless battle against their peers. This pervasive competition breeds feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, and isolation as they fight for validation from their mentors. Emotional manipulation is rampant within Whammy's house. Employing manipulative tactics, the staff mold the children into the successors they desire, subjecting them to psychological pressure and coercion. This manipulation exacerbates pre-existing insecurities and traumas, perpetuating a vicious cycle of psychological distress. Isolation pervades Whammy's house, acting as an insulating barrier from the outside world. Deprived of normal social interactions and familial connections, the residents grapple with profound feelings of alienation and loneliness. The absence of external support systems leaves them vulnerable to the influence of their mentors and peers. Compounding these challenges is the fact that many residents arrive at Whammy's house bearing the emotional scars of past significant trauma and abuse. Whether orphaned, abandoned, or neglected, these children carry burdens that are often exacerbated rather than alleviated by their environment. Moreover, residents at Whammy's house have minimal autonomy over their lives. Their schedules, activities, and even identities are dictated by the staff and mentors, leaving little room for self-expression and individuality. This lack of autonomy reinforces a sense of powerlessness and helplessness, perpetuating the cycle of abuse and trauma. While glimpses of these themes are hinted at the actions of other Death Note characters such as Nier, Mello, and L himself, they are never fully explored. However, the narrative unfolds in full detail when delving into the stories of two former residents of Whammy's house, A and B. We'll first delve into the story of A, the top student at Whammy's house. A's character is deeply scarred by his traumatic experiences from his past prior to Whammy's house, including abandonment and abuse. However, growing up in Whammy's house, an orphanage renowned for nurturing children with exceptional intellect, proved to just be another chapter in A's traumatic journey. A grapples with overwhelming feelings of loneliness and alienation. The competitive environment only worsens his sense of isolation, plunging him into profound emotional distress. Throughout the novel, A wrestles with questions of identity and self-worth, feeling overshadowed by the weighty expectations of becoming the next L. Despite his best efforts, A struggles to find his place within the confines of Whammy's house, his quest for validation hindered by the circumstances of his upbringing. As the pressure mounts and his past traumas resurface, A reaches a breaking point. Unable to cope with the restless demands and expectations, he tragically would take his own life, succumbing to the overwhelming pressure of fulfilling the role of the next L. Moving on to B, the central figure around whom the entire narrative of this story revolves around. B stands in stark contrast to A. While A grappled with the pressure of becoming the next L, B's psyche is consumed by a dark and twisted obsession with surpassing L and asserting superiority. Unlike his peers, B harbors deep-seated resentment towards L, viewing him as a rival to be conquered rather than emulated. This one-sided rivalry propels B to commit a series of elaborate murders in Los Angeles, famously known as the Los Angeles BB murder cases. His aim? To create a crime more intricate than any L has ever encountered, challenging him and attempting to secure victory over his perceived nemesis. B's ultimate goal is not merely to emulate L, but to surpass him, to stand beyond his shadow. Despite his villainous actions, B is portrayed with a sense of empathy and vulnerability that humanizes him to some extent. Throughout the narrative, glimpses of B's inner turmoil and struggles are unveiled, revealing the fragile psyche behind his cold exterior. Complicating matters further, B possesses the Shinigami eyes, enabling him to see the lifespan of others, adding another layer to his complex character and why he is the way he is. But with these eyes, it also gets unveiled how he chooses his victims. B purposefully chooses victims who are going to die the day he decides to murder his next victim, as to avoid shortening anyone's lifespan, showing that although he went down this dark path, a side of him is still empathetic of life. B grapples with a profound struggle for identity throughout the narrative. As the story unfolds, he adopts the persona of L with such conviction that readers are easily misled into believing that he is, in fact, the detective himself. The deception is further reinforced by the use of his alias, Ryu Ryuzaki, effectively blurring the lines between himself and L. His meticulous planning of each murder reflects not only his intelligence, but also his desire to outwit L. B crafts each killing with meticulous precision, leaving behind only scant traces of physical evidence and orchestrating them in a manner that is both grotesque and laden with symbolic meaning, seemingly as a deliberate challenge to L's intellect. However, despite his meticulous planning, B is acutely aware of L's superior deductive abilities. He understands that L is aware of his involvement in the murders, but lacks concrete evidence to substantiate his suspicions. B's ultimate aim is to create a crime so perplexing and so convoluted that even L would be unable to solve it, thereby securing his triumph over the famed detective. So to finish his ultimate victory over L, to truly make an unsolvable crime, B did the final step of his plan to truly make it unsolvable, and that was destroying the ultimate evidence to put the case to rest: himself. B attempted to burn himself alive, destroying all evidence linking anyone to the crime, truly making it unsolvable. However, his plan was ultimately thwarted by Naomi Takeda, who was able to put out the fire before B could finish the final step to his plan, ultimately getting him arrested until he would eventually die in his prison cell, alone and isolated, thus ending the tragic tale of two gifted children raised in a horrid environment. The overall horrors of Whammy's house stemming from its oppressive atmosphere characterized by intense competition, emotional manipulation, isolation, trauma, and the deprivation of autonomy. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of subjecting vulnerable children to environments marked by control, coercion, and neglect. Yet, these issues remain largely unaddressed within the Death Note universe, hidden away and forever untold.